All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Commoner Law's monthly gathering of free travelers. We call it the Free Traveler Monthly Confab, where we just really spend a couple of hours together every month talking about the right to travel. It comes from the notion that we are absolutely free and that God has given us the right to travel from place to place without the permission of government. And of course, we all realize that the vehicle code in every state of this nation has a spell on the people. And the people generally believe that these codes and statutes apply to us all equally, universally, without exception. And we come together, we challenge that assumption. We've got a lot of work to do, of course, and you can consider this in a way a kind of movement of the people to regain a freedom that we once had. And this is the place to resist, because the ability to travel, the ability to go from here to there without the permission of the government, is really central to our existence. There are a lot of rights and freedoms that the government, the various governments, local, state, and federal, and our country use to control us and strip us of our freedoms. And there are a lot of places to go to work. But really, moving from place to place, the right to travel itself is something so inherent in being alive and the experience of being alive. And it is indeed what our forefathers and those who came before us so many years ago in the Enlightenment period in Europe and here in America determined that we're free, God-given rights to us, and really we don't need anyone's permission. Unfortunately, we've gone backward in our human evolution toward a more enlightened way of being with each other. But we can turn that around, because in the end, when a person learns about freedom and gets the spirit of freedom in their heart, there's no going back and there's no changing that. So let us once a month come together on the first Tuesday of the month and share our experiences with each other, share our thoughts with each other. And we often do have special guests, but tonight we do have a topic to take on, at least initially. But hey, as it's been seen in the past, the conversation goes where it goes. You know, different folks bring forth various different subjects or different angles on the right to travel. Everything from, police enforcement to codes and regulations and rules in terms of the statutory laws, toll booths and toll roads, red light cameras, school zones. What else? Just licenses themselves, registering automobiles and vehicles, license plates. So, it really does touch on a lot of different angles, and we're here to talk about whatever comes up. If you particularly have had a run-in with the law, or you've been challenging like a traffic citation, for example, in court, we'd love to hear about that. Anything that you've been personally experiencing is going to be of great value to everybody, because we're here to talk a lot about the legal theory and law itself and the principles of freedom. And yet here we are day to day living in a system that is controlling every movement you make. And so if you have a personal experience where you're fighting back and you're learning something, we all want to learn from your experience. Be prepared to bring that forth very much as a welcome. Let's say hi to David James Rodriguez, a free traveler. He is a freedom warrior, and he's with us every first Tuesday of the month. I'm so glad to have him as my partner in presenting these monthly confabs, because he himself he's got the bug, so to speak. To the very core of him, he's a freedom lover, and he's done so much. He continues to do so much to fight in the legal realm through the federal courts currently. You might have seen his videos online, and we've definitely presented those here in the past, different months in the past, showing David facing down law enforcement officers and trying to relate to them, and when he can't relate to them, even putting his body in the way. He's a real role model for all of us, and I'm just would love to once again have David's spirit bless us today.
Clint, hey brother, good to see you. Everybody, welcome to the call again. Yes, this is amazing. We get together every month to talk about right to travel and yeah, your God-given rights to travel freely. You don't need permission. We just been trained that we need permission, and so have the officers. God bless these officers. But there's a conscious awakening happening. Very positive things out there, and everybody's got a role to play. So whether you want to be a producer or an activist or a writer or whatever it is, I came up with this idea, which is it's a symphony of freedom, and everybody's got an instrument to play. So there's a mass global awakening. The self-ownership awakening is very positive. It's very exciting, and it's great that we get to meet once a month here to remember this and to share stories, share best tactics, share maybe what worked, what didn't work, because this is an experiment in freedom, and freedom is a new idea. So remember that it's not like freedom's over. Freedom is just beginning, and the awakening is here. And thanks for leaders like Clint and some of the other people on the call today. There's a lot of people rising up. A lot of people starting to speak the truth and exercise their freedoms. And there's a great documentary called "A Force More Powerful," and it goes into a little bit about Gandhi and some of the things he did, and then also the civil rights in the 1960s in the U.S., and then a variety of places around the world. But Gandhi had a great thing. He said, "Oh, they're going to arrest us for this? Well, then let's fill up the jails." And so there was one moment where there was like 10,000 Indians in jail because they couldn't sell salt. And these types of just cockamamie, decrees by dictators. And so it was an honor for him to be in jail. And so that's a very powerful mindset that I'm starting to adopt and say, you know what, like Muhammad Ali, he refused to go to war in Vietnam. He said, no Vietnamese ever called me the N-word. And he says, why do I want to go over there and shoot these poor brown people in the mud? Just take me to jail. So I think there's power in knowing that this is the line. I'm not gonna do this. And if you're gonna take my body, take me away. And I think this is where the peaceful civil disobedience comes in. And right to travel, driving with private plates, driving with no license, whatever these things that you are doing out there takes a lot of courage. And I recommend you video record it. But it's a spiritual thing, I feel, Clint. So you're a spiritual transformational man as well. And the power is inside of us. The power is inside of you. And it's a beautiful time to be alive. So I'm great to be with you guys tonight and hear what's going on, what's new, and share some of the stories as well.
Hallelujah. Amen. Yeah, it is a spiritual battle. If you just look at the numbers, it could get depressing only because we've gone backward as a human species. If you look back over the last 200 years, it's like we went back to sleep. We achieved a couple hundred years ago, 300 years ago, we as humanity achieved a level of enlightenment where we saw that we don't need a king or a ruler, even if it's a democratically elected government, to tell us what to do, that we have a direct connection with our creator, and he created us to be free. And indeed, to my mind, he commanded us to live free and prosper. And so it seems like there's some kind of parasitical class of people who have done a lot of work to bring ignorance across humanity for decades and decades now. That's the awakening David's talking about. It's a reawakening, and even the Renaissance was a reawakening from an earlier period. So it's a reawakening or a re-Renaissance that we're living in today, and it's very exciting. And I want you all to count yourselves at the forefront of that. And just being here from the spiritual perspective, it doesn't matter what the numbers are ultimately. We're here, our vibration is so strong, it's so pure, it's so powerful that it has the ability to transform people and places and things, even outside of this wonderful gathering we have today. So just let us feel the power together, be the power that we are, and tap into something bigger than all of us, and know that this is something that really will make a difference. In fact, you can even just forward the email real quickly right now to your friends and family and other people who might be interested in joining us right now. We're going to be here up until 7:30 on the West Coast, 10:30 on the East Coast, so people can jump on and get involved in this conversation at any point. So go ahead and post on Facebook, post on X, formerly Twitter, post on just forward the email to some folks right now. Grab a moment to just do that and have people join in. Doesn't matter what level they are. Maybe they're new to the ideas that we're presenting here, but they need to be exposed. And then there's people who are already on board with us who might really appreciate just on a Tuesday evening to be able to be together with like-minded people and share. We all want to get our voices in here today, for sure. I want to hear from all of you. If you have something to add, to contribute. I wanted to just start with a basic distinction in law that really does seem to make a big difference in people's understanding of what's going on. You might have heard the term de jure law. De jure is just a Latin term. When you study the law, you get to learn a little Latin along the way. But there's this distinction between de jure and de facto law. It's really important for people to ultimately get this distinction, because once you get it, it kind of cracks open your reality. So de jure, according to the dictionary, is a law that's based on actual laws, written statutes. Extend that to include court rulings. If you do go to court, what judges in America typically looking at is the law as it is written, so to speak. It's what anyone can point to as the law. So, in fact, jure is the same Latin root for the word jury or juridical or jurisdiction or jurisprudent. So it really is pointing to the law. So it's, in a way, it's saying de jure means of the law. But as we know, the word the law means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Here, it simply means that law that you can point to. So it could be a statute, could be a code, it could be a case precedent. Those are the kinds of things that people consider de jure law. Even the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution of your state is a written document that you can point to and say, this is the law. The vehicle code, which is relevant to us, is also something that is written down in the form of statute. And people relate to it as the law because it's been supposedly duly passed by the legislature and signed by the executive, for example, and put into practice in a legal sense. At the same time, those same de jure laws can be questioned and their applicability to us. We're here to say that, just because a state passes laws to regulate motor vehicle traffic, we recognize that perhaps the state has authority to regulate its own motor vehicles. Whatever state you live in, I assure you, your state owns a lot of motor vehicles. As the owner of those motor vehicles, a very, very large fleet of vehicles, of course, they'd want to put a registration number on them. Of course, they'd want to make sure that the people that they employ to drive them, follow certain rules. But as soon as the state goes to try to extend those same rules and regulations to we the people who are free, which is what has happened, it started even as almost 100 years ago. People started fudging things and started taking what originally was de jure rules that the state made for its own automobile fleets and those who operated them, and then extended it to we the people. And now everyone thinks it's just a universal application. And so that's what we're going to jump into today a little bit, is to have each of you, if you haven't already done it, to take a look at the vehicle code and start to see that it doesn't necessarily apply to you in terms of your ordinary understanding of going from place to place, driving to the grocery store, driving to visit your family, driving to just take a drive and enjoy some scenery. We don't need the permission from anyone to do that. We are free, and God gave us the right, and we just inherently have this right, but we've been fooled. And so that's why I want to introduce to you a contrasting notion of de jure is something called de facto law. This is, again, another Latin term that de facto simply means of the fact. It's a matter of fact. So it's distinct from de jure in the sense that there may be quote unquote laws written down that make up the body of laws that the people are supposed to follow. But in the end, de facto law is a recognition that in reality, whether a law in the de jure sense technically applies to you or not, and as we say, the vehicle code can't apply to us because we're free and we're not regulated by the government, but because nearly everybody you know believes without question, some people will go their entire lives apparently never questioning whether the vehicle code applies to them or not. So because we live in reality, a reality made up of all the people we live with who believe intrinsically without any question, without even thinking to question whether the vehicle code applies to them or not, we are in a state of de facto law, which means that if you go driving down the street without a license plate on your car, you very likely will get pulled over. Let's say, for example, it's a highway patrol out on the interstate. That highway patrolman will also likely be one of these people I'm telling you about who have never questioned whether the vehicle code applies to everybody all the time. And they will just apply it as if it applies to you without question. And if you even try to suggest to them that it doesn't apply to you, they will recognize in their minds that just to them looks like you being uncooperative or resistant or even wanting to break the law. As you must know, if you talked about freedom and right to travel with anybody in your life, you probably have run across people for whom the idea that under de jure law, vehicle code regulations don't apply to you and me, that they would emotionally get triggered and resist that because they are participating in this de facto law where reality is constituted by what they believe to be true rather than what is truly true. So that's what we're up against. And it's important to have this distinction because then you're now more empowered in all of your conversations and you don't have to be confused. You can make it very clear. You don't have to you can use Latin or you can use other ways of expressing yourself. And of course, it'll be circumstantial the way you talk to a law enforcement officer by the side of the road, having pulled you over for any number of reasons, versus say your cousin at a family reunion, you're just talking about this stuff. You might use different language and different ways to explain it. But in your mind, you know that the law as it's written, talking about the Constitution of the United States, for example, or even statutes and codes in your state, say one thing, and then what people generally believe and just take to be almost custom have a kind of force of law upon us only because of the sheer number of people who have adopted an attitude, a belief about what is law and not law. And further, you know, that those same rule followers are very eager sometimes to enforce the law, to sort of deputize themselves, wag their finger at you if you don't follow every single line of every single code and statute that can be found that they think applies to us. So that's why I asked everyone, it was a suggestion by Mike Geyer, a great free traveler who lives in Washington. He presented to us in a previous Free Traveler Monthly Confab. You can look that up and watch it again if you like on YouTube or Rumble. And you can watch him again. But he sent an email to remind me to let everybody know that it's important for you to look up at the definitions of terms in the vehicle code of your state to see how they define things. And it's in the details that we discover that the average traveler is not and never really was regulated by the codes. And it's kind of a fraud. It is a fraud perpetrated upon us to tell people that everyone all the time is universally held to these statutes and codes. So I ask that you all go look it up. Go look up the definitions in your state and discover for yourself what are these definitions? What does vehicle mean? What does highway mean? What does public highway mean? And you can end up generally finding that no, the public highways are free to travel upon. But it takes a little digging. Let's see. I'm just gonna see if anybody has done that. I'm curious. Has anyone done this research? Anthony, tell us what did you discover? How you doing?
How's it going? It's going good. Yeah, I've been diving into this the past 2 years, really, slowly but surely, coming to these Tuesday things and then learning from David, seeing a lot of what he does, gotten a few books, started studying a lot of common law, practicing for a family law case that I'm in representing myself, and then this right to travel and freedom, coincides with that. But I've been kind of skating through, I would say, the last 2 years because I bought a vehicle in Washington, and this is my partner, Anna. And
Anna?
I haven't had plates since I bought the new car. And I'm kind of in that limbo area. I've been pulled over probably a couple dozen times the last 2 years. And it really is such like a hit or miss, depending on what officers you get. Depending on, I kind of feel it out depending on the space that they're in, how high and mighty or how abrasive or aggressive they are. I kind of tread lightly and I kind of feel out where they're at before, stating the right to travel and things like that. But I am kind of skating by because there is a technical glitch where the Washington DMV didn't put the title into my name. So they gave me the new title with the old guy and myself, and California won't necessarily give me the updated title registration until he's taken off. So I'm kind of in this limbo where all the officers are usually pretty understanding and they just are like, they normally don't do anything. If anything, they'll write me like a fix-it ticket to get the registration soon. A side thing that I've noticed, even prior to me learning about this freedom travel, right to travel, is that I used to get tickets and I would write "do not consent" on the ticket. And since I started doing that, I've found out that the court, after months or years of not just completely ignoring everything that they do, all they do is they sell your debt to some collections company. And I've had probably about 4 or 5 tickets that just disappear, and it goes to like some collection company. And one of them was, I think, traveling over 100 miles an hour. I got a ticket for that. And then nothing ever happened with it. Nothing. This was probably 6 years ago. Nothing went on my record. But still to this day, like every few months or so, I'll get like a notice in the mail. You have this outstanding fine. And then I've noticed that with most collection departments, it goes lower and lower and lower. And they decrease your ticket of offense because they're just selling it to the next, creditor that's going to do that. So I'm trying to understand it all. But anyways, yesterday we had a pretty intense experience with CHP driving up, and this time she's driving my car. I was in the passenger seat, I was sleeping, and she learns a lot of the stuff that I have been learning. So she was like all high and mighty to this officer, speaking up to him, like looking at me like, right, yeah, right. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm still kind of learning it, so I don't know exactly like what to say. I was like, let's just comply, because he was already like a total dick off the bat. But guy, you sent out the email, I started looking stuff up, and I found a bunch of stuff. And most of the things that I find from a legal standpoint, it's hard to communicate with the officers in this manner, because they pretty much say that the state does have jurisdiction. And then, I always say like, well, the Supreme Court is the law of the land. And I've had 3 times, if I don't have my kids in the car, and if I have the time to go through the process with them, I'll sit there for 20, 30, 45 minutes, as long as it takes, until they let me go. And that's happened at least 3 or 4 times where they just let me go. They call their supervisor comes, I talk to him, I show him, the things that I have down, and, we kind of part ways, because there's been no real like infraction or anything other than not having plates, license, insurance, registration, and whatnot. But yesterday we just kind of complied with it, and I told her literally last night, like, if we're gonna really step into this, we need to learn it, so we know how to move forward. Anyways, I started looking up after your cue to do some homework, and I found, a few things that are are difficult to comprehend that support the freedom and right to travel movement. Um, One of these websites say that you do have a freedom and right to travel. And it's Halajian versus Debian Towing 209 Calap fourth, first district appeal. And this was 2012, and they essentially said that it did not impede the Supreme Court's constitutional right to travel unreasonably so. Like, the person still had a right to travel, but it doesn't necessarily talk about traffic laws in the Constitution. So then they end up saying, like, under the 10th Amendment, it states that anything not stated within, I forget where I had it. Anything that's not stated in the Constitution is up to the municipalities at that point. And so it's right here, traffic regulation isn't mentioned in the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Therefore, power generally falls to the states pursuant to the 10th Amendment. And then what the officer said yesterday was like, yeah, I've heard people talk about it, but it's not something that we CHP recognize, and I mentioned to him, well, doesn't the CHP fall under the federal jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and law of the land? We have a right to travel as long as we're not producing commerce, and this and that. But it's just hard to see, because I haven't seen any court cases that have been won to uphold and support our belief. And everything that I've seen is actually otherwise. And there's, several other cases out there that state that, even the appeals courts, I don't know if it's gone up to federal or supreme, but I haven't seen anything with my eyes that actually support, not having license plates. And at this point, I'm kind of getting tired getting pulled over. Not only that, but my kid's mom has been using that against me in court constantly. And it's just like another thing that makes me look bad to the courts. And I'm just like, I either need to know it, like, de facto in reality, like be able to show it to them, or I'm just gonna, like, not deal with it, and we just pay the stuff and just follow in line like everyone else does, which is, it bugs me, because I so firmly believe in our fundamental God-given rights to be free, voluntary beings that are here to, as long as we're not causing harm or doing bad things to other people, then there's no victim, then we're not doing any crime. So yeah, thoughts?
Well, thank you for putting that at the very end, because that is the ultimate principle that you just, first of all, everyone, let Anthony be a role model to you. None of us know, there's no silver bullet. Nobody here seems to know the one secret little trick that's going to have everything suddenly just fall into our laps, and have every law enforcement agent and every aunt and uncle that we talk to, or any ex-wives who we have problems with, suddenly just be like, oh, okay, you were right. Oh, well, wow, never mind. So sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. No one seems to have come up with that yet. But what you are representing here today that matters more than anything is that you put yourself out there, and you've done more than 99.999% of Americans to stand up for our freedom. And I'm so grateful that you've done it. And I'm so grateful you've done it in particular in the area of travel, because again, travel is so critical to us. I'm glad to hear that you are traveling. I haven't been on the roadways myself this summer much. And, I picture you out there on the road, with the wind blowing through your hair, and being free in your mind and in your spirit, and willing to have these conversations and invest the time to try to educate law enforcement agents in the moment when it matters. So I just applaud you first and foremost, and thank you for everything you've done regardless of what you determine is the path for you going forward. I believe David will join me in this, and everybody has a different set of circumstances, and obviously, it's driving without license and license plate and driver's license comes with consequences to your time and energy, and it's so integrated into our lives that the driver's license can be used as a club to beat us into submission, because it's integrated into so many aspects of our lives. So none of us here will judge you for choosing what you choose to do, and we'll support you in whatever degree you want to exert yourself, whether it's just simply through conversation or to put yourself out there, as Anthony and other people have, by driving without a license plate. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Could I ask Anna's voice to be on with this?
Yes, yes,
Really,
yes.
we want a variety of perspectives. So if you don't mind, what's it like for you? What is your perspective on all of this?
Well, yeah, I'm one of those people that would have gone their whole life never knowing anything about this unless I was with this person. But yeah, I think that it's like pretty awesome to like know that we actually don't have to pay to be on a road that we are already paying for it. Or to pay to be inside of a car that we already paid for, or like those things that seems logical, pretty straightforward stuff. But as you said in the beginning, like we've sort of just been trained or brainwashed into this idea that like this is just normal, this is just how it goes. Why would you even think to question that? And most people don't. So yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah, well, welcome to brave new place to be. It's for all of us, and it's not just travel, but what I love about this topic of travel is that what you find in the motor vehicle code is the same that you find across the board when you think about taxation, when you think about the medical freedom problems we had for the last few years and continue to have, when you think about family law. Oh my goodness, the kinds of crazy stuff that goes on there that has nothing to do with freedom and natural law. It's terrible. And you have gun control, you have building permits, you can't even the kinds of things that they say you have to do if you just want to change something relatively minor about your property. So it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But the right to travel itself contains all of those elements. And so we focus and learn and practice, as you have, facing down law enforcement agents and this whole dynamic of fines and what to do with them. And is it really just a commercial thing to make money? It seems, yes. That money that they wanted to get from you is not going to go to pay for highways, is not going to go to pay for driver education so that we're all more safe and we drive more safely. Nothing. It goes into the pockets through the judicial system of the judges and those everyone else who seems to be participating, and they're doing it. We don't know. I don't know exactly how they do it, but there is a trick. If anyone in here has some research or evidence to teach us about how that money goes into their pockets, whether it's their retirement or some sort of fund that they have, secret funds that they have where they put the money in it and then disperse it somehow. If you can help us figure that out, it'd be very, very helpful and very interesting. But again, thank you very much for being the guy you are. I don't have any more answers than you do. We did put together a course called Don't Fear the DMV. You can find it on our website, commonerlaw.com. And there we go through the basics of the fraud that it is. We do talk about that very critical moments roadside when you get pulled over and how to manage that. We've talked about that actually a lot on these monthly confabs. We've had lots of people. I remember Paul Unslaved in particular, and we showed a video of him succeeding to talk sense, and his demeanor is critical. The actual words, in terms of the facts he lays down, are critical. Just judging the moment and, you know, being in the moment with whoever this person is as a human being, which is for me difficult because I see them as tyrants and uneducated tyrants using intimidation and presumed ignorance to, you know, basically control my life unnecessarily. So we have to be able to park some of our emotions, apparently, and it's through practice. Stick around. We want to hear more from you as we stir up this conversation a little bit. I saw another hand raised. Was that Nick? What have you got to add to this conversation? Where are you from, Nick?
I'm from Washington.
Oh, hello.
But how's everybody doing?
Yes, so great to have you.
Thank you. Something that could help Anthony was one of the things. I know he said he's tired of getting pulled over because it's been on a continuous basis. A very good read that could help him immensely, called a Treatise on False Arrest, False Imprisonment by Charles Weissman.
Treatise on false imprisonment, false arrestment by Weissman.
Charles Weissman.
Mm-hmm.
And one case that could help him immensely, he mentioned some, I'd recommend read Trezevant versus City of Tampa. Did you hear?
Keep laying down. Yeah, I'm taking notes here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Also, too, if it ever does go to court, a ticket, I highly recommend W4 the court case. And I agree with you. There's no silver bullet. There's definitely not. But one thing I've learned with those people, if you make the cash register go in your direction, they tend to leave you alone.
Say more.
Because you're not good for business. Because that's all it is.
Worth it to them. You're saying the cost benefit analysis just doesn't come out.
Yeah, no, and as crazy as it sounds, in a court case like that, the IRS is going to be your best friend. Because that's how they're making money off those court cases, we all know, but they're not paying taxes.
Say more. Start from. Yeah, I mean, I've heard this before, and people say this. Could you just maybe connect the dots a little bit more for us?
Sure. Kind of I can't really go in depth. I can kind of give a quick synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
But and there's some information out there on W4 process.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff on YouTube that you can learn. If anyone's interested in that, I highly recommend listening to Hollywood on YouTube.
Okay.
That's been I haven't had a ticket in a very long time. Like I do have a driver's license. I'm sorry. I do not have a driver's license. The estate has a driver's license. But I'm also a commercial. I drive for a living. So I agree with what you said earlier. When I'm working, then yes, all the statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations, then yes, they apply to me because I'm engaged in commerce. But when I get in my car and I go to the store or I'm going home, whatever, I'm not engaged in commerce. I have the right to travel. So, and if Anthony wants to, I can try to. There's a great video on how to handle these cops. If he's interested.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, maybe you can search for it and put it in the chat for all of us to take.
Oh yeah, I will look for it. It's kind of an older video.
But
one thing to think about, like when they ask for the driver's license and registration, you could say this to them: "What's the emergency, officer, and how may I be of assistance?"
Yeah, I've seen and heard that.
And when
how can I help?
He or she is going to say, "No emergency." Oh, then I'm free to go? No, you're not free to go. Well, that constitutes false arrest, false imprisonment. Read me my rights.
Ah, nice.
So if they demand driver's license registration after they've read you your rights, everything after they've read you your rights is fruit from the poisonous tree and inadmissible, because that's under threat, duress, and coercion.
Huh, okay. So even if they say that, because I have used portions of that, and I feel like they end up saying that I'm interfering with investigation, and they have a right, and I say, well, under what cause? What's what is the problem, or what are you investigating? And you have to have a reason to investigate something.
Correct.
And they just kind of make up their bullshit.
Oh yeah,
So,
they do. But no,
yeah.
I'd ask this question. I'm sorry. Do I have the right against self-incrimination and the right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. So
Okay.
if they want to proceed, it's going to be at their own peril, because ignorance of the law excuses no man. But
Yeah.
I like what you said earlier. Is like you wrote, "I don't consent," and the tickets are going away because they need you to consent.
Yeah. I
They
used
need
to
you.
write my name signed under duress. Now I just started like kind of talking to them, and not I don't put my name. I just put do not consent, kind of like in messy writing, and then hand it to them and keep talking, and they don't even notice.
That's what I did yesterday.
Is that what you did? Good. That's
Oh.
that's a great one.
I mean, she started with, I'm not going to sign that.
No, I said I'd prefer not to sign that.
And then
Oh, no.
And then the
Oh, no,
officer was like, well, then I'm gonna have to, take you in front of a
He said
judge.
you have two options. I can take you in front of a judge, or I can take you to jail.
Yeah,
if you didn't sign the ticket.
Correct.
yeah.
So I would have said, so you're gonna place me under arrest if I don't contract with you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but the kids were awake and they were in
Yeah.
the car, so I wasn't gonna
Okay.
say any
Oh,
of
I,
those.
Yeah, I try not to do this when I have the kids, and
Yeah.
it's,
I don't know. I completely understand that. I completely understand that.
The older one was
But-
like, I heard him say he's gonna take the car, and I was like, no, it's okay.
yeah.
Everything's fine.
If they take the car, I go after them personally.
But has
That-
that actually worked? Because all of the court filings that I'm seeing, and I can put them here, and there's this case that I cited earlier. It's like he's, plaintiff literally quote for quote verbatim, like the things that we say and that we talk about every month on these calls, and all the stuff that we say, and like the court, the trial court and the appellate court both upheld their decisions, stating that the right to travel and the right for seizure, because they ended up impounding his car, that it was it did not impede unreasonably on his right to travel. He still has a right to travel, but what they're saying now, and everything that I'm reading, is that driving on the public streets is a privilege that can only that needs to be for the greater good of everyone, because you can't have a 5-year-old driving. You have to meet certain requirements to learn how to drive on a public street. So the things that I'm finding and reading is not helpful to our cause.
Gotcha. And I kind of gave a brief synopsis of what I know.
Yeah.
I would, if you are getting really tired of this, which I'm sure you are, I would recommend maybe doing a consultation with one of my mentors. He could help you immensely. Just to know, it's $100 for a consultation, but he will steer you down the right path. I mean, put it this way, they don't even want him in court anymore.
Yeah.
He's made judges run off the bench.
You want to put that in the chat as well, Nick?
Yes, I can. So if that can help you, because like I said, I'm about to go get a car here in about about a week, and I plan on getting a DOT number and getting a DOT plate, because that way it's under private household consumer goods.
Okay.
So that's for federal. We both know federal trumps state.
That's the DOT, Department of Treasury.
No, Department of
I mean,
Transportation.
transportation.
Yeah.
So let's see. We've got,
Because I don't plan on registering my car.
okay, you're not going to register your car. All right, got it.
No, because I want the MSO.
I tried to get MSOs, but because the cars are so old, they say that once the DMV
They destroy it.
the first registration, they destroy the MSO.
Yep.
And I tried calling manufacturers, and they won't even produce it. They can't reproduce it, they said, and it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, they're lying to you. But yeah, no, I agree. But you're correct though. They do destroy it. So that's why I'm not leaving that dealership without the MSO in my hand, because then that way I can prove I have superior title.
Yeah.
Because certificate of title is not title.
Yeah.
So I'll put that. I'll put his name in the link, and you can actually go on YouTube and watch some of his stuff, and you can draw your own conclusions.
Okay.
So if you'd like, I'll do that for everyone.
Great, thank you.
And to real quick to David, they asked personally. I said sue them personally. Yes, because like you said, like you mentioned earlier, like we have the God-given right to travel, but God says we're not to be of this world, to come out of the fiction. You can't sue a police officer. You can sue the man who at times acts as police officer. And that man or woman violated your rights.
But aren't they exonerated from that if they're under their hat?
Not if you take them into your court.
Okay.
Meaning,
Anthony didn't know he had a court.
Oh no, we all have a court, the common law court of record, the law common to I. So just for example, that man who at times acts as police officer impounded your car. He took your property without consent.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, let's say, okay, I'm not going to assist you or resist you, but I charge $1 million a day until my property is restored. And if you look, what's that?
Anthony, like a lot of us are needing a little bit more, because we've heard similar things about contracting and what you're saying, but
like if I'm just saying, like if you did that, for example, and then you sent notice and you gave him a chance to remedy the situation. You gave him 3 notices. He or she doesn't respond. They acquiesce to the terms.
Right. And then the court isn't, if I wanted to sue him in San Francisco Superior Court of California, I know where to go down here on McAllister Street, and forms are there to fill out, and I can create a jurisdictional hearing, a venue in which he would have to defend himself. You're not talking about that, are you?
No, I mean, it would be just, let me see here. What's your full name? Clint, what's your last name?
Clint Grease, Gries. Yeah.
So for example, it'd be in the Clint Grease court at Superior Court of San Francisco. You would be like in the Clint Grease court at Superior Court of San Francisco. You're the one bringing the rules into the court. When we go into their court, like fighting a traffic ticket, it's their rules.
Mm-hmm.
So make it your court.
I see. All right.
When you sue, when you file a claim against them as a man or woman, they don't have qualified immunity.
Yeah, I see the benefits of it. It's just a mechanism I'm unfamiliar with. I mean, not conceptually, yes, but mechanically, through the Superior Court of California to constitute or institute a venue known as Clint Grease Court that's a brand new one to me.
Yeah, and I mean they would have to honor that or establish that.
They have to, because they presume and assume that you are a corporation. You have the right to access court anytime you damn well please.
I as a free human, or I as a corporation?
I as a man. You as a man have the right to bring that court whenever you want.
That's what I understood
not.
you until you mentioned the corporation. So which is it then?
No, you as a man. As a corporation, no, business is 8 to 5.
Okay.
They presume and assume that we are a corporation.
Okay. Got it.
I will put that, I'll put his name in the chat so you
Okay.
can type that name in. You can go to YouTube.
Uh-huh.
You can watch some of his stuff. I mean, just a heads up, he's kind of abrasive. Just he curses a lot. He just doesn't care. That's just how he is. I've talked with him numerous times. He's helped me a lot in my studies.
Yes.
That's just how he is. He's very respectful.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just like, I mean,
Oh,
he's
but
like me. He's like me.
He's the sailor talk. He has
Yeah,
whatever.
like, he's like me.
Like
He curses like a sailor, but he's also very respectful.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nick. Well,
He's
thanks.
very respectful. He's not going to disrespect you, and if you're good to him, he'll be very good to you.
Got it. Got it.
But
Let's
he's
be-
been doing this for 13 years, and if I said, you can go on YouTube and learn from him, and if you want to try to set up a consultation with him, he will do it, and he will help you.
Fantastic resource to have. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So yeah, I was just curious. I wanted to talk to Anthony about that a little bit because I live in Washington as well. So
Yeah, what's going on? Washington's got a lot of freedom lovers up there. I love it.
it's it's starting to turn. I think Lord Inslee, he he made he over I think he what's the word I'm looking for? Got too big for his britches.
Yeah.
The power went to his head. So I think a lot of people up here, like everywhere else in the country, they've had it.
Yeah.
They're fed up. But I think people are finally starting to wake up.
Yes. Indeed. I'm looking for other folks who go ahead, Kent. What do you got for us?
I've been studying this for years, and there's two very good websites that have court cases and all that kind of stuff to go with it. And it's Sovereign Living, and the man is Glenn Whittingham, and he has documents and everything else that proves that his videos are all court citations that prove everything that he says. And another one is High Frequency Radio, and he's kind of a hood language, but a brilliant author of this information.
Oh, you're talking about Yusuf El?
Yes.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And,
yeah.
And then the only reason anybody has authority over anybody else is through a contract. So the only reason that the officer can pull you over is because there's a contract. And you have to avoid all the contracts you have with the government. The primary one is Social Security number and driver's license and U.S. citizenship. Because the United States is not the United States of America. The United States is a corporation, and we've all agreed that we are a citizen of the United States, which means we are all under the corporate United States laws, and they assume we're that until we rebut that presumption. So when you rebut that presumption and are a free man, a state of the Union citizen rather than a United States citizen, you can become free, and they're still going to treat you the same way. And I've had several traffic tickets in the last, not several, 3 traffic tickets in the last, I don't know, 5 years. I try to follow the rules, and sometimes they don't work. But anyway, I don't argue the case on the side of the road. I just accept whatever happens, and then I go talk to the prosecutor. And when the prosecutor understands that you know what you're talking about and that they're going to lose the case and just put on display in the courtroom to everybody else in the room that you know what the deal is and you can get out of it, they're going to learn something. They don't want you teaching the general public that lesson.
Interesting. I love it. Still another angle. So you sign the ticket with your
I will not sign a ticket. I've never been asked to sign a ticket, but I would sign under duress because that voids the contract. Do not consent works too, but under duress means that you've been threatened to sign the ticket, which means that means that the officer has threatened you, which is another thing against the officer.
Yeah.
I've just been, I've never had to sign a ticket in the recent years at all. They just hand me a piece of paper and say here. And
Okay, so you take the piece of paper and then you
I go talk to the prosecutor.
you phone them up and say, hey, I want to talk.
I'll just go. I talk to them in person.
Uh-huh. First,
And
physically, you have a meeting. So you set up a meeting, you go down to their office and you sit down with them. Is that how you do it?
Exactly. Well, actually, I do it in where I'm from. The prosecutor talks to everybody before the arraignment. I mean, there's a general arraignment time, and everybody goes in there, and then the prosecutor sees everybody one at a time to see if they want to make a deal or whatever they want to do. The other major point about the cases is that every case is bonded, which is what Nick was talking about a little bit, I think, earlier, which is that ticket is a charge, and when you get the ticket, all your property is liened by the state at that point, even though they don't. But anyway, the point is that there's a bond on that case of thousands of dollars in general. So the reason why, where to go? If you're found innocent, you can collect on that bond. It's a bid bond. And so if you're found guilty, the judge and the prosecutor and possibly your defense attorney split that bond, and it goes into their pocket directly without going through anything else. So that's why the prosecutor will offer you a plea deal. As long as you're found guilty and you plead guilty, they get to collect the bond personally, not the government. Just
love to be a fly on the wall during that conversation you have with the prosecutor.
Oh yeah, that's the deal. So the charge was running a red light, which I did not run. It was a close call, but I didn't run it. But I entered on a yellow, and it turned red before I exited. But is that a interstate intersection? So it was through an underpass of an interstate, and on one side of the bridge was two cops, and on the other side of the bridge was a cop that stopped me. So the thing is that the cops radioed the other one and said, get that white van because he's ran the red light. And so he pulled me over. But the point is that the officer who arrested me at that point was operating on hearsay because he did not see me run it. Mm-hmm. And the two cops that said they saw me run it don't know that he got the right van. So I went to the prosecutor and said, you have no evidence or whatever this is. And also he looked at the dash cams and stuff. And on the other side of the interstate was a green light that dash cam caught me going through. So the only evidence they have is me going through a green light. It wasn't the one they said I ran, but it's still the only evidence they had was me going through a green light. So anyway, he said, well, how about if I just make it a parking infraction, a $1 parking infraction? And I said, man, okay. And then I thought about it for a week or two. I said, I can't do that. There's no way I'm going to lie to the court because I didn't park and no one's claiming I parked. He's just offering me. The thing is, if I had pled guilty to that parking infraction for $1 and the $30 court cost or whatever it is, and there'd be no points or anything else, but I'd be lying to the court and lying, saying I parked improperly or whatever that fraction might be. And I'm not going to lie. So I went back and said, I'm not going to lie, but the point is that as long as I pled guilty for that $1 fine, he and the judge get to collect the bond. So they're going to offer you, that's why they stack up charges, is to get you so that you're afraid that you'll be found guilty and then have tremendous penalties. But as long as they get, then they can plead you down to next to nothing. But as long as you plead guilty to anything, they get paid. Anyway, that's pretty much the story I wanted to tell.
Thank you, Kent.
Kent, to jump in real quick, Kent, you are 100% correct. But just if you deal with that next time, where he made you an offer.
Exactly.
So that makes him the debtor, you the creditor. You could have, I conditionally accept your offer.
Well, please explain that. I understand that, but how do I mechanically go through that process?
Well, when he made that offer to you, you could have conditionally accepted. Right. I'm just saying, if it was me, I would have said to the extent of fine, I conditionally accept your offer. You will sign out a sworn affidavit under the pains and penalties of perjury, facing a 1 year in jail and a $10,000 fine, that those are the facts. and then
Got it.
I'll accept your offer. They will
Okay.
never sign under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Exactly. And also,
They will
like you
never.
were, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And when he says, "Oh, no deal," now he is in commercial dishonor because he
Wow.
made the offer.
Yep.
He's the debtor.
Yep.
You are the creditor.
Exactly. So, okay, so now that we have that situation, it's all in private. Where's the record and how's it get settled? Or how do I collect or whatever?
Collect. See, that's where I'm still learning, because I haven't been in that situation. I just had a lot of training. I haven't had the opportunity to go. I've not had the opportunity to go to court because I've been very proactive.
Right.
So like I said, I've rescinded my U.S. citizenship. I've put out a fee schedule, almost everything.
Right.
So I pretty much get left alone.
Right.
So
do you get stopped at all, or just present information and leave you alone?
This is the information that I've been learning from experts who have
Right.
been doing this for years.
No, my point was this, you said you've been left alone. Does that mean they don't stop you, or once you're stopped, they let you go?
Haven't been stopped.
Excellent.
I haven't been stopped, but I'm guessing that when I get my new car and I don't have plates and I don't have Washington plates on it, and it's got a U.S. DOT number, more than likely, I'm guessing I'm going to get stopped.
Why would you want a U.S. DOT number rather than just MSO in your pocket, or
I'll still have the MSO, but you can still do a US DOT, and it'd be listed under private household consumer goods. So
okay.
you're not you're showing to the federal level, I'm not engaged in commerce.
Exactly.
So, and federal trumps state.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean they're not going to come after you.
Right.
But I'm just saying you have some recourse though.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. Getting back to the point, I have a motorcycle that I'm not putting plates on and I have the certificate of title and bill of sale that it's a used bike. But anyway, I've been told that the way to get this vehicle out of the system is to get a salvage title on it. That way there's no value to the state.
I've never heard of that, so I have to look into that.
And the other thing too is that there's a video by Yusuf L called "Does the State Own Your Car?" and something else. But anyway, you do that. The point is that when you register your car, you've created a trust, and the state owns your car, and we have the use of the car, but not the ownership of the car. We have the possession, but not the ownership. And so by registering your car, you've given the state your car, or motor or vehicle, whatever.
You are 100% correct, because possession is 9 tenths of law. The other 10, last 10 is title.
Exactly. Well, the thing too, what I'm saying,
they have the MSO, they have title.
Exactly, but they don't have the MSO from what you said. So my point is, produce the MSO and I'll believe you.
There are a few people here who want to chime in. This is such a rich conversation. I'm so grateful for you guys being here and sharing all of your wisdom. And there's a lot of details, and I think it's working though, more or less. We're sorting things out. It was Ken, I believe, had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Clint. I just want to say I've kind of been in this field for a number of years, and there's a couple things that I know I've learned that are very helpful. First thing I put in the chat, I believe Kent or one of the other folks here was talking about correcting your status. There's a website called the matrixdocs.com, which is run by a gentleman by the name of Roger Sales, who has an incredibly simple and effective method for correcting your status. He's got a radio show, 2 hours every morning on 8 to 10 Pacific time, and does this for many years. He doesn't charge any money, but I'm just really impressed. I like him because he's just very simple. He's a very good teacher. He loves beginners, new people coming on into it. He's very clear, very concise. It's just a really great show, and he's got lots of wonderful people on there. The second thing that that's just for your information and somebody that I've kind of gotten value from. The other thing is that because everything is in commerce, we're all aware of the 3-day rights of rescission. So whenever you get a ticket, just write in no contract, return for cause, pop it in the mail within 3 days, make sure it's postmarked within 3 days. It's a commercial contract. You can void a commercial contract within 3 days. And so whenever they set a court date a month and a half out, they want you to go beyond that 3-day right of rescission so that you've defaulted on your ability to rebut. And so then you're immediately in dishonor. And so once you're in dishonor, then basically you are at their whim. And either unless you get back into honor, you're kind of at their, at their whims. So the honorable thing to do is just to say, hey, there was no contract. Take that ticket, just write no contract, refuse for cause, and pop it in the mail, make sure it's postmarked within 3 days, you're good. The other thing is that because when we're talking about plates and DOT and all these other different things, the idea of getting a DOT plate is brilliant because it's a household consumer good, right? It should be pretty simple. The other thing is that if you choose to, you can get a private plate, and then you can basically take your plates, submit them back to the DMV along with your license, and give them a statement saying that I am not in commerce. I'm not using my vehicle for commerce. And so therefore that you don't need a plate, and you're putting your affidavit for that on their record. So that when they pull it up, they see again that you are not in dishonor. You are honorably submitting the things back to them. And then you can put a private plate on your car. You can put a DOT plate on your car. You can do whatever you want. The only thing I would say is that on that plate or on the back of that car somewhere, you simply write not in commerce. So it's very clear on what you are and what you are not. And those have been the things that I've used, and I think it's been very helpful. And when somebody stops you, you just simply said, hi officer, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm not in contract. I'm not doing any commerce. I'm not involved with any commercial activity. Is there any other reason for you and I to be engaging in this discussion? And, typically there isn't. I'm not driving, I'm traveling. I'm not in a motor vehicle, I'm in an automobile. I'm a private man or private woman, and I'm peaceful and trying not to do any harm. And so long as you are not, breaking any laws or doing anything beyond posted limits, you're trying to be peaceful and private. So that's just some of my experience, and I appreciate the time to present it. And with that, I yield.
Thank you so much, Ken. This is wonderful. I'm so grateful again. Eddie.
Hello, greetings.
Greetings.
All right. Well, in the event you engage courts and they choose to disregard, because I had an instance where I was sitting under a tree and I ended up getting arrested for trespassing and resisting arrest. So I did my 3-day return of document, stamped it, endorsed it, and they ignored it. I said, okay, all right, if you wish to proceed, you can proceed. So I went to the prosecuting attorney's office, and I tried to settle the matter in the private. They didn't want to hear me. I said, oh, okay. So I had to activate my court, and I started issuing complaints, summons, and warrants for the public official. So I said, all right, if you want to do a warrant for me, I'll do a warrant for you. So I was able to obtain the actual warrant and found out that the warrant was fraudulent. So I got in contact with the deputy who signed it, and he tells me, oh, it was just a mistake, but you're guilty. And I'm saying, sir, you don't understand. I said, do you know the difference between a criminal charge and a civil action? And he was like, yeah, but I'm not playing this game. And he wanted to get condescending, said, oh, do you have mental health issues? I was like, why would you say that? Because I'm investigating you. So he went doing this thing, but I have all of my documents stamped. One of them has like stamps of all three courts: the city court, the Snohomish County Court, and all offices of the um, county attorney's office. I also put in a tort claim and gave them a invoice, a 30-day invoice, and they just think it's playing and it's a joke. And I'm saying, okay, all right. So tomorrow I'm drawing up my motion for hearing because I've already conducted my private administrative hearing, and I've already proved on the record that they've commenced fraudulent commercial proceedings against my estate. So I'm calling for their arrest, and tomorrow when I do my further investigation, I'm going to be requesting, all right, I have 2 warrants on the record that's on file. Are you willing to serve them? I already told them. I said, if you're not willing to serve them, serve the warrants, I just need a deferment statement. So if I go hire my private security man and I go take hold of these people, you're disqualified as to saying, what am I doing, or if I'm, uh, you know, kidnapping somebody. Say, no, I have a file right here, and it's civil, and that's what it is. I'm probably going to be uploading some video of my actual service and conversation with the young lady, and I told her, you file another document on me again, it's going to be $10,000 for each document, and if you think I won't take you into custody, you will sadly be mistaken. And her hand was like shaking, holding the paper. She went to make the copies. I was like, all right, I done warned you. All the man has to do is give proper and lawful notice. Notice has been given. So now I'm going to move to publicly uploading my video as to all of the officers that I serve, who I tried to speak to settle it in the private, and let people see how they actually act, because they're not very competent at all. And with that, I yield.
Eddie, real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too late or not. I'd say tag their bonds. If possible, tag their bond. Go after their bond.
Yeah. Okay.
Go after their bond, and something put in a judicial notice, because that cannot be stricken from the record.
Yeah.
That
I've
judge,
given them,
whoever that is, invoke his Title 4 101 oath,
mm-hmm.
Title 5 331 oath, and his Title 28 oath.
Oh, that's too fast.
Okay. I'll slow down.
Go ahead.
You can put it in the
ahead.
chat as well, Nick. If you, as you speak, you can type maybe at the same time. That would help.
Okay.
Then everyone get the same info.
Title 4 101 oath.
Okay.
Title 5 3331 oath.
Gotcha.
Title 20, since it's the judge, I'm sorry, the man acting as judge, Title 28 oath.
28.
State
What
constitution.
What section under Title 28?
I don't remember off the top of the head.
Okay, got you. It will be in the 5s or 7 series, I believe.
Yeah.
But I got you. That's not a problem.
The state constitution oath and the federal constitution oath. And I'd say also this: ask for their their FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act. Are they registered with the Foreign Agent Registration Act of 1938?
Okay. Foreign registration.
And this might be this will get them too. Ask them under Title 26, 2032, AE 11. That case is supposed to, okay.
I'm sorry. Title 2036.
No, Title 26,
mm-hmm.
2032, AE 11. That case is supposed to be bonded out of Puerto Rico, and it's not.
Okay.
They never bond their cases. because they're presuming that you're going to come in and be the surety.
No, I gave them notice of
Yeah.
beneficial interest and principal agent with authority. So,
Okay.
and that
All
was
right. Yeah.
under the power of
Power of
power of
Employment Act of 1951.
1951.
Yeah. Power of Employment Act of 1951. Judge, I appoint you fiduciary trustee. You can file a Form 56 into the case, and you can make the judge, the prosecutor, and clerk of the court all fiduciaries.
Okay, what was that you said before 1951?
Oh, the Power of Appointment Act of 1951.
Okay, power appoint. Gotcha.
But yeah, you can file a Form 56 into the case, and you can appoint the judge, the prosecutor, and the clerk of the court, all as trustees. And now they're on the hook.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I put in a demand for release of judgment, so I'm going to hit them with this request for all parties involved to get their oath. But
Okay.
the beautiful thing about the documentation is what you put in a notice of default or a notice of fault, and stamp a copy, give proof of service, because when it comes down to your hearing, it's going to come down, it's going to come down to that paper.
Oh yeah,
Gotcha.
the court is the four corners of the paper. That's
Yes,
court.
sir.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to give you that, and you do with it what you will. But I wanted you to at least have it.
Yep. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That's the spirit of these monthly confabs, is people supporting each other with this information, and then trying the various things, sharing what you do. You know, you're everything from the 3-day notice, signing, not signing, going to court, talking to the prosecutor, dealing with all this stuff, finding a way to be free. You guys have gone deep, boy, in these last exchanges here. We're going deep. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see, who else wants to get in here and share what you've been doing, or hey, if you're new to this conversation, raise your hand too and let us know what it's like being part of this conversation. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit overwhelming for some of you at first, or maybe you're loving it. Who are the sponges here, just sucking up all this great information? If you want to just get your voice in here, everyone is welcome to speak. We just want to hear what it's like for you, what you're feeling about what you're learning, what you might be learning. Maybe it's going to change the way you look at how you will do your driver's license, or how you do your registration next time you buy a car, or next time you get a notification from the DMV that your license is expiring. Let's get everybody's voices. You're very, very welcome to speak up. I know Connie's here. Connie has a Department of Transportation license plate, and she has some opinions about what that's like, some experience about what that's like. Who else is here? So glad to see Rachel's here. What have you got for us, Rachel? I see you in the chat. Thank you very much, everyone. You don't have to speak up, obviously. You know, it's just great to have everyone here. Look forward to meeting again on the first Tuesday of next month. And you don't need to register again. Your one registration stays with you. So the link you got to join today is the same link you'll need for next time. If you know of anybody who'd like to be our featured presenter, who'd like to go deep on a topic for us, maybe at the beginning of the next confab, please let me know. Look for emails from the Commoner Law Group. You can whitelist us. That means going into your email provider and letting them know to prioritize emails coming from info@commonerlaw.com. We're getting filtered out. We're getting, the high-tech overlords have got lots of ways to try to shut us down, and they look for certain words like freedom, and right to travel itself could be a term that could cause our emails to go into your spam mailbox, and you'd never know you got an email from us. Unless you take the extra step to go ahead and tell your software provider that you definitely want to receive emails from us in your inbox. I encourage you to prioritize emails from info@commonerlaw.com. You'll get reminders for next month. We also have other offerings at the Commoner Law Group, you know, fundamental education and common law itself. The Great American Law Series is our premier course in that subject that I believe every American should have. And then, of course, the Right to Travel, Free Traveler Lifetime Membership includes the course called Don't Fear the DMV that David Rodriguez and I developed and delivered that goes through the fraud that the vehicle code is, what to do when you're roadside, what to do after you're on roadside, some real basics and some real fundamentals, especially for beginners. And yeah, we want to hear from everybody. What about you, David? What do you think about this confab? It's pretty amazing, huh?
Man, this is beautiful because, you know, when I started doing Right to Travel, like I guess over 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, I was tired of participating in the criminality around me. So I took a look in the mirror and I said, how am I contributing to this? What am I doing? And so everyone here who's participated in learning right now that, you know what, we're actually complying with this, but all we got to do is, some of these guys brought up great paperwork strategies, and I can't remember who said it, but the courts don't want to fight somebody who is going to fight back, right? So they want to fight they want easy layups, laydowns. And so, as the gentleman said, as you start filing paperwork and you realize you're telling the prosecutor, hey, man, we're about to go to war, they're like, all right, dismiss it. You know, it's a misdemeanor or it's an infraction or whatever. This is a business and this is commerce. And so the government's organized crime, as Lysander Spooner proved in 1870. So they just get money by using coercion. And the future is this voluntary transaction and having these types of conversations. So I agree with you, Clint. I'm inspired to hear the community and the strength that's rising. People are sick of the tyranny. There is a mass awakening through people not asking permission to be free. We are exercising our freedoms, exercising our rights. And that's, I think what Anthony was saying and some of the other guys is like, I'm not going to hold court on the side of the road, but I'm going to kind of like feel out the cops, you know, see how tyrannical this one is and see how reasonable this one is. And then you can actually have some insight. The other guy said, hey, I'll sign whatever you're going to force me to sign under duress or being forced, and we'll fight in court. So it's a two-part process, it seems, you know, exercising your right to travel. And then if you're going to go to court, go in there to slay them and bring some of these notices, bring some of these documents, and just convey to the prosecution and even the judge that, this guy knows what's going on. And I can verify that they do have bonds on these cases. I had a affidavit of a guy who verified that my case number and name was being traded on the stock market. So yeah, this is a criminal entity, and it's so beautiful to see everybody here live and even after the fact. You can go to YouTube and go to Rumble and follow Commoner Law and see some of the great interviews like today and with Rick Martin and some of the other people in the past. And maybe we can get some other people that you guys recommend on here, because this is the time. The internet has allowed us to get the information, and now we're taking action. So it is beautiful to be with everyone and to learn. I'm taking notes as well, so this is a great time.
All right, David. Yeah. Woo! This is fantastic. And in terms of substance today, I am just really impressed. All right, let's hear more from Kent.
This is for Nick, if you're still here. How do you propose to go about getting your MSO from dealership? Are you paying cash or something else? I don't know about your financial stuff. Just curious how you're going to get it.
Great question. Because most people finance their cars, right? And then that puts you into a whole other situation.
Right. But what I'm going to do, excuse I'm sorry. I'm going to go down to the dealership, and I am going to, I've already found a car that I want. So they're going to run my credit, and we all know that we have unlimited credit because there is no money.
Right.
So, they're going to run my credit, and they're going to draw up a contract, and I'm going to get them to sign that contract first. I'm going to take it home, and I kind of have an idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do a consult, and I'm going to go through that contract, and I'm going to basically go, nope, 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 nope. And then I'm going to sign it, take it back, and I'm going to sign it right in front of them. Because they made the offer, they signed first. That makes them the offerer, which makes them the debtor. I'm the creditor. I get to stipulate the terms and conditions.
So at that point, what happens?
And then the contract is signed, I'm going to sign the. We all know you sign a promissory note.
Right?
I was told how to properly endorse the promissory note, so they can't take it and run away with it. So
Uh-huh.
it is done.
Are you
And
using your closed social security account or something else?
because so it's a Social Security, because when that credit gets run,
Right?
it just got paid for.
Okay.
They went into your estate
Yep.
and took God knows how much money. It was paid for.
Okay.
If you read any car contract or any mortgage, you will see there before you sign it, you read it, it says you agree to give a security interest. Like, I'm going to use a car contract, for example. You
Uh-huh.
agree to give a security interest in this vehicle. How can you give a security interest in something unless you already paid for it?
Good point.
Because
Yeah, you would do that by giving notice. Like I have a document here. I'm trying to actually put it on share screen, but notice of managing estate accounts, then the process, then it has a acquisition of goods and services, and then acknowledgement, and then portion for release and transfer of the goods,
Yep.
which is a third party appearance from your principal agent or as
Yeah.
principal agent.
Absolutely. Because, and also too, when at the end of the year, I'm going to W-4 it.
Yeah.
Because anybody who is in possession of decedent estate property is liable for the taxes. Just like the people at your court case,
Mm-hmm.
they have decedent estate property, the performance bond, the bid bond, the payment bond. They're responsible for the taxes. So yeah, that's how I plan on getting my car, because when I endorse that promissory note, that shows that nope, there is no retail installment contract. It is a consumer credit transaction.
Excellent.
I don't know if people can see that, but
Yeah, Eddie, go ahead. We can see it. What is it?
Yeah.
this is my the way that I personally run my estate when I go out and acquisition property, which it just gives notice of managing assets or estate account, and then the process that I'm using, the Registration Act of 1809, transfer of Public Property Act, and then the acquisition portion where you name the account or whatever the contract is, get general notice, and then I have my own clerk sign it, give them a copy, and it to me it causes a trigger of your bona fide appearance at the contract table. So you're coming in with your own statement of acknowledgement for the property or service that you intend to utilize.
That's beautiful. Is that high frequency radio material or?
No, this is from the People's Remedy, Brother Isaiah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Great. What a gift. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Hey, Bob, I see this really great photo you put in the chat. Look at this. It's a license plate called Spirit Falls Holistic Church, and then there's a number there. Do you want to share with people what that's about? It's very curious. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. It doesn't look like he's with us but just check it out, you guys. Because that's a whole other avenue people are pursuing. They're creating a church, right? So in the de jure legal system, churches have been given different kinds of freedoms because of the constitutional amendment that specifically names freedom of religion, the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. So a lot of de jure law carves out things for churches. So people are creating churches, and why not? In its godless time, we can have a church of freedom, our church of liberty, our God-given rights. We recognize that we are the creation, and so why not make a church?
One thing about the tags, a lot of people don't understand the financial portion of it, is going to your state statute and looking up financial responsibility. A lot
That's
of people misconstrue that as going out and get insurance when actually you can produce a bona fide certificate um, from your state of financial responsibility. Because remember, the credit is ours. Once you execute a certificate of your standard meeting the minimum statutory requirements, you get that notarized. When you're driving around, that's your that's the equivalent of what you would deem insurance on the private side. I yield.
well, that's a great one. When I was doing my research today in the California Vehicle Code, there's a lot of definitions. I was specifically focusing on the definitions, and I was surprised to find the very first definition of like hundreds of words that they defined was that very term,
Hmm.
financial responsibility.
Yes.
I thought that, well, that's interesting. Why do they start with that one? Because it has such a critical key role in all of the rest of it, right?
Well, I've literally printed my own money before, so I know what full faith and credit is and the public record under Title 28 USC 1739 and 1733. So with that being said, it's knowing what your abilities are as a treasurer and a living man to disperse your credit at will.
Fantastic. And I'm going to underscore, I'm a fan of yours all of a sudden because you said, I will apprehend you, don't you? That's a thing that we've been missing. And we have
Hmm.
the lawful jurisdictional foundational principles on our side. But what we often lack is the understanding or awareness or ability to enforce those things.
In the private sector, what you have to do is give notice. Like I gave notice to the local police department about the warrant. They declined. I did the sheriff's department. They declined. My next step is U.S. Marshals. They decline. Then I go to the private side and I hire my private security team. I have my patches of my court, the whole nine. You know, if I have to get insurance, well, actually, no, they carry insurance. So I'm gonna give them notice when I go up there to go get them. They already got notice that they've been disqualified. So don't think, they trying to make it into anything funny business or domestic terrorism or nothing like that. And it's not. Nah, baby, this is de jure enforcement. Yes,
Exactly.
sir.
Exactly. Congratulations, because that's the teeth that we need to
Yes,
enforce our rights. So
yes,
thank you. Yeah, thanks. Tell us more. Come back and tell us more how that goes, how that turns out.
absolutely, absolutely. All right.
What about you, Connie? What's going on?
I just wanted to mention that I am taking the Sovereign's Way, the law for mankind, and changing my world and rocking my world. And I hear it coming in from different people. Although something caught my ear a while back, which was arguing in court. And in law for mankind, you don't argue. That throws you into the debtor status, not the creditor status. So you don't argue. You go in with your you had a trespass, a man has trespassed or harmed or wronged you. If you, after you've given your correspondence and your notices and all that, and he's still in dishonor, then you don't argue. That puts you in dishonor. So if anybody has any input about that, I'd like to know.
Good one. Maybe too, for the Department of Transportation plates have come up in this confab today. And I know you've talked about it before. Do you have anything, maybe you can just summarize first, exactly what it is, why you chose it, and then what it's been like? Because I also heard you saying that you think it's a bit of a compromise still, that you would like to have no plates or private plates.
Oh, well, I've been told that by people that, you're kind of, dancing around their Monopoly game. So by doing DOT, but mine says for it's a non-commercial use only is what my plate says, and I had it made, and it's light pink, and anyway, the thugs have been cut by half in this state, and when I say thugs, I guess I don't sound very positive, do I? But anyway, they've been cut by half, and that's a huge thing because then we don't have to deal with the codes and statutes that are doing no harm, and all the baloney for their revenue. So I just wanted to mention that I've had not any encounters. If I did, I fumbled to get my insurance because I don't have insurance on the car, and I even the guys on Sovereign's Way, they advocate that you get insurance for your car, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I am playing with fire a little bit, but I'm extremely careful, driving like a little old lady. And I just went around the western states and didn't have an incident, knock on something. So I'm just wanted to come in and say that the Law for Mankind was changing my life in a lot of ways that were really good. And I have to go after a particular party for huge harm and emotional stuff. And I'll do it in the steps that I've been given, and I can't wait to try them all. So if people have been successful, I'd love to hear after they've gone through Law for Mankind, if there's anybody.
Well, it's great to have you again as every month, Connie. You're regular, and I do appreciate every time you make it.
If what the Law for Mankind does is it puts you so much in truth, you get into trouble a lot. I just spilled the truth to somebody the other day. It just came out, something about that it was fact based and everything, or maybe it was something about them. But the truth just starts to become part of your life. It's just bizarre because we've been living in this whatever we call it. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I'm aligning myself every day to iron out those wrinkles, aligning myself with the truth, discovering all the inconsistencies and all of the areas in my life that don't work in alignment with the truth. And yeah, it's like getting off drugs or something like that. It's not easy, and you might have a bumpy ride doing it.
And there's a lot of it's hard for me to find ethical work, especially in a school. I can't go into the districts anymore. But it's difficult to find ethical schools. I went out for a preschool job, and I made a remark of the woman who was giving us an in-service, and I was fired that day. Hired and fired the same day because I had an opinion that was different from the in-service woman based in fact. And she wanted us to get all excited about a 5-year-old who wanted to be a girl, who's a little boy who wanted to be a girl. And I said, well, the age of reason is 7. Why are you worried? That's a baby. And she, they're going to honor everything a 5-year-old says. I mean, they do tell truth, of course. But you don't get all excited that your child is going to suddenly start becoming a girl and want to get an operation. I mean, the silliness going on in the preschools is getting as bad as the school district. So, it's just tough to find ethical work.
Yes, the Commoner Law Group did a special presentation on parents' rights and how to fight back in schools. But God bless everybody who can make a living however you can and prosper in this day and age when everyone and every institution seems to be compromised.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yes. Did you have more for us, Kent, or anyone else? Go ahead.
2 parts. One is the church and one is court cases. But anyway, most churches are not churches because they're nonprofit organizations under 501c3 as opposed to the church.
Oh.
And most churches are being controlled because they're afraid of losing their nonprofit status, but they don't need to be in that condition in the first place. Anyway, the next is one of the maxims of law or anything else is that whoever makes a claim has the burden of proving the claim. And what happens at arraignment lots of times is that you're asked if you are guilty or not guilty. And that's a false choice in that you're asked to plead and you're not required to plead, but they say you can plead guilty or not guilty. And the judge says, well, I'll just enter a plea of not guilty for you. And the judge is not your attorney, so has no authority to do that. And the other part is that at that point you can say, well, since you're not my attorney to the judge, thank you for dismissing the case, or whatever it is. And that's not going to fly. But the real plea is, I plead innocent until proven guilty. Because if you plead not guilty, now you've placed the burden of proof on yourself to prove your innocence, which makes it anyway, I'm not sure that's true, but I think that's part of the deal.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that's why they'll fight you, right? That's the initial thing. And that's the initial capitulation that is so critical for the rest of it to happen. Yeah. Innocent until proven otherwise. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kent. All right. Oh, thanks, Lori. Go ahead.
Hey, great. Hi. So I popped in here. I hope it's still okay that I ask a question. I actually, for the second time, received from the Selective Service system for my son, who's now 19 years old. And this is federal law requiring males to register for the Selective Services. I ripped it up and threw it away last year, and I got it again this year. And now they're saying, if you do not register, we will prosecute you. So what I'm wondering is, if he were to change his status to a national, would he wouldn't be held to any of the codes or statutes. Is that correct?
Eddie?
Yes. My suggestion would be to create a live life claim, like a living document of birth. And then you would actually take a certificate, a birth certificate that you actually get from the state, and you can attach it and say, here you go, create whatever account or whatever, do whatever you wish, put your endorsements, but you have to transact it as business. But you have to have your own private paperwork to show that you have the capacity as a living human being. You have a live life claim or some living birth record appearing in the Bible. And then you have your franchise legal person via the birth certificate. And then you can use that as a certificate to say, I meet the obligation of the state's burden of registering for selective service.
And that's called
And
a live life claim?
yes, that
Okay.
would be under David Wynn Miller's technology with quantum language. Mark Christopher, he has a page on Patreon. He's doing something with a judicial
selective service and the draft, and how not to volunteer. Number 2, I've added in some material that I discovered, in the last few months. So
That was a little snippet from it, I take the Kent.
Sovereign living is how not to volunteer for selective service.
Oh, great. Thank you.
It's by sovereign living.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't require a status change for him?
Most likely.
It would. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't watched the video for a couple of years.
Okay. Great.
Where the status change has to occur in your mind first and be produced on documentation that you can present to anyone who would challenge.
Okay.
You have to create your own foundation of documents to meet their presumption, to rebut their presumption, and that's under Federal Rule 201.
Yeah, that was my question, actually, because I'm always curious, after having worked with a lot of people on a lot of different issues, it starts with your own mind. You have to free your own mind initially. You really have to know who you are in truth, and then the answers come from that place. So I was just curious. He's 19 years old. He can sign up for the draft if he wants to, right?
Yeah, I've already talked to him about it. He's on board with this.
Yeah. Does he know himself to be absolutely free? It's not just about selective service. It's that that we aren't subject to these rules and regulations.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's that's a whole, I think that's a much bigger issue. We're dealing with young people today. I have 3 boys, so all of this age, and it's hard for them. They don't know what path to take. They don't know what jobs are going to be there for them. They don't know how to do this thing anymore. Like, it's pretty confusing for them. So I think he sees himself as free, but there's a lot of concerns with their future.
Yes, may I? Because you have to understand that the governmental system, it has a structure. And in order to engage with it, you have to play its game. So say, for example, I haven't been working, but I really got my my driver's license for the purpose of driving, commercially or Uber or whatever the case may be. But in transacting my driver's license, I gave them notice as to the capacity I'm coming in, and I'm stating I know what it is. I know this, it's a account that it's supposed to be used for this, that, and the third. I have my affidavits attached to it. So there's nothing that can be inferred that there's not a separation between that instrument and me as a living man or woman holding that license. It's all a matter of giving license. When you execute the application, you take the application, you give a receipt for the application, you make a claim on the application because you're bringing it into your state, but you have to produce an acknowledgement or have a receipt book to give an accounting for your state, because everything is out there and it's owed to you. It's the living person that has to go out and claim it and structure it so it can engage with society. The frustrating part will be when they're getting to a point where they want to do something and you're going to have to learn the system to engage with it, but you have the capacity of mind to understand how you're engaging it, and it's a contractual relationship. And I yield.
Yes, that's wonderful advice and perspective. Really, it's a shift. It's a shift in perspective. And thank you very much for being with us today and for being such a great mom. You know, my heart goes out to young men and young women trying to make sense of this world. I mean, it was pretty confusing when I was coming up. But nowadays, oh my goodness, how do you know what's left from right or up from down or good from bad or right from wrong? It's so confusing. But sounds like at least they've got a mom who's cottoned on to the truth. And so that's a blessing to them. And I just thank everyone for being here today again, and all the wonderful advice and all of the wonderful experience and wonderful things that people have offered so generously to one another. This is the spirit of a united people. Our freedoms, not only are we individually free, but we're free together. The best term I use is that we are co-equal sovereigns. If you take the Constitution, for example, it says we the people. And to me, a lot of this can only really make sense if we are a people. So let us be a people today. Those who are on the call today, we are a people, a free people. We have to declare ourselves and create ourselves as a collective sovereign that we are, and to support each other and to be one in our seems like a lifelong battle against the tyrannical forces of those fellow human beings who seek to try to control us and profit off of us. So again, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate every one of you. It's a dream to be with you, and I look forward to our being together at the Free Traveler Monthly Confab again. David, you want to send people off with a prayer maybe, or some blessings?
Yes. I love hearing we have to remember who we are, and it begins in the mind first. The paperwork is secondary, and remembering that we are the sons and daughters of the Most High, the Almighty Source, Nature, God, whatever you choose to believe, we're directly connected to the Creator, and the government is supposed to be a servant. And now it has become the tyrant. It is very open. And I think to Lori's point is we don't know the future other than the eternal battle between slavery and freedom. And we are on the winning team of freedom, consent, personal responsibility, agape love for humanity. And this surge will not be stopped. This is unstoppable. So understand, this is why this call gets better each month, because new people chime in. We're trying new techniques and new strategies and methods. That's why they call it a law practice. They're practicing and we're practicing as well. So it's just a joy to be with you, Clint, and everyone who chimed in, Eddie and Kent and Bob and everyone who contributed, Connie. There's a mass surge happening. So just remember, you're on the winning team. And we send blessings to you, to your family, to your friends, people around us who might not understand what's going on. We have compassion on them. We have compassion on ourselves, knowing this thing's been going on for many years. And now the thing is starting to fall apart. So right to travel is, I think, probably the tip of the spear with the digital ID, what they're going to try to force on us, now and continually. So exit and build is a great strategy. Exit their systems, build the systems or the solutions that we want to see in the world. And we don't have to wait for Superman or some superhero. You are the superhero. I am the superheroes. Together, this is a community of strong men and women and young people as well, you know, like Lori's sons. We need you guys, and you know, many hands make light work. So continually to come back to this call, and you can watch it, as I mentioned before, on the various video platforms. So we send peace and love to you guys, and light and strength and honor and courage and compassion for each other, and just a joy to be with you all. So we send you all these high vibrational frequencies and vibrations. So until next month when we meet again, Clint, such a joy to be with you all, and we are on the winning team. So always remember that.